Turbo.
I guess I could start out by asking the pretty obvious question with what strengths are you seeing with this team that you've gotten so far, and some kind of weaknesses and that kind of thing.
I would only even entertain that question just because we're friends. It's not a good idea to really toot your strengths and avoid your weaknesses. I think it's hard to say based on, I don't know exactly what we're going to be up against when we get to Australia. And you might say, well, they just had their Commonwealth Games, and well, their Commonwealth Games were indoors. It's a little different than what we're going to be facing here in the next couple of weeks, and different than what we're doing right here. So I think that's going to be a little bit different. Generally speaking, times that are done outside are a little bit slower than what's done inside because of the controlled environment. But I don't know if I could really say we have strengths and weaknesses, because I think we will be swimming significantly faster when we get to Australia. Now, understand that Australia meet is outdoors, and it's in their late winter, early spring. That's going to be not so much, I think, the swims as much as what we do in the warm-up and warm-down area, what we do in the massage area, making sure that our athletes are kept warm. There's all sorts of different issues that we'll face there. But, Jim, I think I feel pretty good about this group. I'm very excited about the new people.
Hey, Frank. Childs Walker with the Baltimore Sun. Just assess what you've seen so far from Michael Phillips and kind of what you expect to see from him going forward.
Michael only knows one thing, and that's to compete at the highest level, and he's done that his entire career. And the only way that he'll continue this comeback, if you want to call it that, is if he continues to progress. I think we've seen tremendous progress in such a short period of time. He'd be the first to admit that this is the last, say, since January or a little bit before, has not been the greatest training as far as the number of hours and time that he's put into it. So I think you're seeing a very, very talented individual, the most talented swimmer of all time, use his talents and use his experience to get him to this place. Michael will continue to get better. There's no question about it. He is nowhere, in my opinion, nowhere near being finished with his career. So he's doing this because he enjoys it, and he's a competitor first, and that's what makes him so great. Jeff?
Frank, there have been a lot of mixed comments about the fact that USA Swimming is picking the World Championship team a year in advance. I mean, Nathan even said on Tuesday he wasn't in favor of it. Can you talk a little bit about the decision to pick the world team in even Pan Ams and World University Games in 2014?
When you look at a quad, a 4-year period, and you think of the first year, we select our World Championship team, generally speaking, by about the 1st of July. And then the last year of the quad, we pick our Olympic team roughly around the same time. So we have 2 very short summers. And with the idea that we want to be our best at the end of a quad is when the 2 middle years, our athletes are able to train all the way through the summer and have their national championships in August, and they'll be able to do the same thing for world championships, which will be in August too. So it's just a way of making sure that our coaches feel comfortable that their athletes are getting enough long course swimming and enough long course racing and enough long course training through 2 complete summers. And there's coaches that agree and disagree with that as well. But I think that that's an important component, at least right now. Does that make sense? Karen.
Hello, I have a follow-up to that. How do you guard against complacency? Someone who feels like I swam well, I made the team, I'm set for the next, for the foreseeable future, versus the kids that are improving every time they get in the pool.
That would be comparable to the old days. We have 2 quads when we had the Olympic trials in March, and when you think of it, we probably didn't pick our best Olympic teams back then, and we probably won't have our best team. There will be some kids swimming next summer faster than maybe some of the athletes that performed here. So there's a little bit of give and take, and it's not that the World Championships aren't an important meet for us, but in the long run, we would never jeopardize that potential training period for selecting a team that would select doing something in a quad that's going to jeopardize how good we're going to be at the end of the quad.
Let's do two more, and then we'll have Bob and Terry come on up.
Matt Reese with Washingtonian. Katie Ledecky came close to resetting her own American record and almost broke a world record this morning in prelims. Can you just talk a little bit about try to put that in perspective and her achievements as a swimmer and what you expect from her in the future?
Let's see, how do you put a world record in perspective? I guess you just call it the best anybody has ever done. And anytime you get any close to that in any kind of competition, it's a great effort. So when I think of Katie and I think of Katie's progress from meets to camps to meets again, it's been very favorable. She seems to swim at the highest level, at the highest competition. So the people in the stands, needless to say, had a treat this morning, and they'll be back to hopefully see what they would hope would be a world record performance. But Katie's in a great spot right now in her career, and her coaching staff, her coach Bruce, is doing a wonderful job with her. So it's fun. It's in our sport, you don't see world records very often anymore, and we're continuing to raise the bar. The suits did that, and our kids are chasing it, which is fun too. But Katie she's in a great spot, and I'm excited to see what she does tonight, and I'm excited to see what she does in Australia.
Frank, David Reeder, Swimming World. When you're working on the relay teams for Pan Pacs, how much are you going to take nationals results only into account, and how much are you going to look at other athletes, specifically Ryan Lochte? He didn't swim the 200 free. What are his chances, and maybe even Phelps's, of being on that 800 free relay?
Well, I think as a coaching staff, the entire staff, both men and women, will discuss relay possibilities when we get to Australia. And we'll watch, obviously, the events there and see how things begin to unfold. And we'll take what we think are the swimmers that are performing at the highest level and put them on the relays. So it's always a difficult thing to put relays together, because everybody on the team wants to represent the United States on a relay. That's, if you ask Michael or Missy or anyone else what their highlights are, it's always the relay performances. So we'll take a look at the results from here, obviously. We'll take a look at see how people are swimming in Australia, and then we'll decide what we need to do.
Great. Thank you, Frank. Appreciate your time.
Thanks again for being here.
Thanks to everybody for speaking with him. Now we have our men's and women's Pan Pac coaches.